Welcome to Money, Manifestation, and Business, the podcast that shows you how to use your energy, intention, and consciousness to reprogram your money mindset, unleash a new level of possibility, and create a life and business that lights you up. I'm your host, Jamie Berman, and I invite you to join me each week for a dose of inspiration, coaching, and teachings to help you rewrite your money story, create abundance on your terms, and grow your business in a way that's fully aligned for you. This is going to be so much fun. Let's dive in. Day 2 is all about identifying and releasing limiting beliefs. This is a huge part of the manifestation process. So I'm super excited to dive into that today. Yesterday, what we talked about was really getting clear on what it is you want. What is your soul's desire? What do you want to create? To start kind of creating that vision for yourself, seeing the outcome that you want, seeing it as done, and getting to know the version of you who's on your way there or who hasn't, right? I like to look at both. Who is the version of me that's on my way there that moves towards this thing? How does that version of me think, feel, act? What habits are getting me closer and closer to my future self? But also, who's the version of me who has it? How does she feel, right? What is she like? And starting to get to know those versions of us so that we can become them, right? So much of manifestation is a becoming process. It's an evolving process. And I think that is why we're given desires in this lifetime. It's because we're meant to do new things. We're meant to create new experiences. And through creating those new experiences, we're kind of forced to evolve, right? We can't just stay in our comfort zones. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. It is what pulls us to grow and to learn and to explore as humans, which I think is part of the point of why we're here, right? We're meant to go on this adventure and this journey. So let's talk about thoughts and limiting beliefs, okay? Because we started talking about it yesterday, but I will tell you this bit of what I learned whenever I was going through my journey with money and learning the skill of creating money and learning how to create abundance in my life. This was the missing piece for me, right? Because like I said, I had read the manifestation books. I was doing a lot of the work around it in terms of I was visualizing, I was seeing what I wanted. I was a lot in desire. I had vision boards and a lot of things manifested for me. But when it came to money, it just felt like it wasn't manifesting. And I'll tell you what I learned was that the thoughts that we think most often really impact our lives, right? So, I mean, think about it, right? And I know all of you are on different spectrums of like manifesting, and some of you are totally new to this. Some of you are like, yes, I'm a seasoned manifester. I'm so into it. And I'm just here to really like soak in the energy of it. But I want to hear from you all, like how many of you have learned about the power of mindset? Or maybe whenever you have like watched reels from people or documentaries, you've learned like, oh, the power of mindset really matters. Or you've heard about the power of your thoughts. Or you have learned about visualization and how that can impact your life. Yeah, yes, 100%. Okay, awesome. And so what we're going to dive into is why, like how that actually works and how it is absolutely true that thoughts become things. And I don't mean every thought that we think all throughout the day becomes a thing. That's not what I'm referring to, right? Because we have like 60 to 90,000 thoughts a day, depending on the person. That's a lot of thoughts. Every single one isn't going to manifest into a thing. But the thoughts that we think most often, the thoughts that are habitual, those that are kind of in our subconscious that we learn, that are our core beliefs that we keep thinking over and over, what we do is when we have a thought, we experience it in our being and in our body, right? And we call that emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. So emotion or feelings, right? Like scarcity, That would be a feeling that we are experiencing in our bodies. We get tight, we get choked up. Maybe you feel it in your heart space. Maybe you feel it in your stomach, right? That is an emotion that is coming from a core belief that you are holding and keep telling yourself. We think it's just a real thing, right? We're like, it's just the way the world is. Really, I don't have enough, right? But really, it's just a habitual story that you keep telling yourself that's creating this emotion of, let's say, for instance, scarcity. And then when you're in scarcity, you act from that place. You create habits from that place, right? Or you don't act from that place. Maybe you don't do things. And that's what creates the results in our lives. So if you've ever learned about like the cognitive behavioral model in therapy, or if you've learned about the mindset model in life coaching, right? It's like, or if you've read manifestation books, right? This is just universal. It's taught in so many different ways, but our thoughts create our feelings drive our behaviors, and then our behaviors and our habits and what we do most often create the results that we have in our lives. So that is why when you look at it at its core, it is our thoughts that become things, right? Of course, our actions matter, but they're all driven by how we think. They're driven by the stories that we tell. And when I learned this, I realized that, gosh, like, this is an area I really haven't looked at. I knew that I practiced a lot of mantras around money. I've been a big fan of Louise Hayes, and I remember finding her in my 20s, and I used to have her CD. And I remember whenever I was going to like freelance and makeup jobs, I would put the affirmation CD in my car. That's only aging me, right? But I'm sure y'all are with me. Who else has had CDs, right? And I would listen to those affirmations. I'm an abundant being. I magnetize money, all of these things. And I would feel them and I would practice them. But guess what? They didn't come to life. They didn't become a thing. And I'm like, WTF? I'm practicing these mantras over and over, and they're not becoming things in my life. But here is what I realized is that they can't become a thing if you have all of these other subconscious limiting beliefs that are running the show. If you have beliefs at your core that are in conflict with those, you have to be willing to actually look at those and like clean them up and at least be aware of them so that you know not to give into them. I'm not saying they're not going to come up, right? Limiting beliefs, of course, like we're humans, they're going to come up, but it's like, which thoughts are you going to choose? What are you going to choose today? That's what creates your life. I want to check in with all of you. Whenever I say the word money, how do you feel? Right? No, let me think of it. Let me ask it in a different way, because I think it depends on if you're thinking a lot of money or a little bit of money, right? How do you feel when you look at your account? How do you feel when you look at what you've made for the month? What is the emotion that comes up? Yeah. Stressed. Oh my God, it's gone. Anxious, horrible, scarcity, disappointed, drained. Yeah, totally. Overwhelmed, defeated. Okay. I'll be drinking water because I have lots of calls today. I got to keep myself hydrated. Okay. Yeah. Not enough. Stressed. Totally. A lot of similar. Okay. So yeah, it's not going to last. Even if I made a lot, it's not going to last. Right. So helpful to see, because we think that these things are facts. Our brain thinks that, right? We're like, this is just the way it is. But what I want to offer to you is just that this is a limiting belief. So some of you actually wrote thoughts out like it's not enough, it's going to go away, right? Those are thoughts. Some of you wrote feelings like overwhelmed, scarcity, tense, tight, shame. So you're going to know what is the limiting belief by asking yourself, what's the story that I'm telling myself that's creating this feeling? When I'm anxious, what's running through my mind? What is the sentence that's going through my mind that's creating shame, or that's creating anxiety, or that's creating overwhelm? Is it, I'm never going to do it. This isn't enough. Oh my God, it's been like this for so long, right? That's what you want to ask yourself. I should be making money. Totally, right? So I want you all to write this down and notice that this right here is not a fact. It may seem like a fact because if you've been thinking it a long time, or if it's been running in the background of your mind, the things that we think, we create. We also see evidence for it. When we're focused on it, that's what we see, right? So that's why it seems like a fact. And then we're like, well, see, I'm creating results like that, so it must be a fact, but it's not. It's a thought that you keep playing out and keep recreating in your life because thoughts become things. And if you keep thinking it, it keeps becoming a thing, right? And then it's like this spiral that just doesn't help. And you're like, see, of course it's a fact. It's not a fact. So what I want you to consider is that this is just a belief. It's a thought, right? It's not a fact. It is a story that you're telling yourself that you are creating in your life. It may be something that you learned from your family, your education, your whatever. We're going to get into that, but it is a belief. Now, what do you see in the middle of the word belief? What do you see? You see the word lie. Good job, guys. You see the word lie. And beliefs are all illusions. They are lies. How do you know it's a real lie for you? Is if it feels terrible in your body. If it creates resistance in your body, that is like your soul telling you, this is not true for me. This is not in alignment. If it feels tight, contracted, closed, that is literally your soul and your intuition saying, lie, this isn't true. It's like alerting your body. This is the thought that's not true. We're going in the wrong direction. This is a lie. So if your belief feels bad in your body and it feels tight and not open and not like love, it is not true. And you do not have to keep thinking that thought. You do not have to keep telling yourself that story, because as long as you do, you will keep creating the same results, because these thoughts and these lies become the things in our lives because we play it out. We feel it, we act from it, and then we go create it. That's exactly how manifestation works. So what I like to look at is, where do these lies come from, right? Where do these beliefs come from? And there's many different things, but I always like to think of it as, our brain, and you can see the visual here, that our brain is like a sponge, right? It even looks like a sponge, like the sponges from the ocean. That's what our brain looks like. It soaks things in. And when we're the age of basically between 0 and 8 years old, we do not have, our conscious brain isn't formed, right? Our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that's really discerning and can say, I see it that way, or that makes sense, and this doesn't. We don't have discernment at that age. We just literally soak in what we learn. So we pick up things and soak in these thoughts like a sponge from our parents, right? That's a huge source of where our belief system comes from our education system, from our experiences and what we saw in the world as we made conclusions based upon it and created these beliefs. From our family, our caregivers, our religion for sure is a huge piece of it. If you grew up really religious and there were a lot of belief systems that you took on from that, from our culture, again, experiences, and of course, like media or anything that you consume. This is where these things are formed. And so I think it's really important to remember that the majority of our core beliefs or our subconscious beliefs got formed before we were 8 years old, before we even really had a choice in what we want to keep and what we don't. But the thing about being an adult, and I think this happens around the age of 25, which is kind of wild. It doesn't happen until 25 that our full conscious brain is formed, is that now we have discernment, right? You have the ability, you have that metacognition, which is the ability to notice your own thoughts, to think about your own thoughts. And you soak that in like a sponge and kind of just regurgitate it, right? But now you get to decide, do I want to keep choosing this? Do I want to keep choosing this way of thinking and believing? Or do I want a new way? And I'm not saying the path is going to be super easy breezy to change every thought that you have about money. But what I will say is, if you get started on it, changing one thought can change your entire life. And starting to do this work consistently changes your life. Even if you do it like 10 minutes a day where you work on your mindset. I've heard someone say once, I think it was like in a book, it said, I make up my bed and I make up my mind. Like every single morning, I decide what I'm going to wear and I decide what thoughts I'm going to think, right? And so we have to start choosing. It's huge. And you have that ability and it will change your life. And I love this quote from Henry Ford because it's so true. He says, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right, right? Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right, because you will play out whichever you believe. So if you think you can't, you won't. You're just not going to go for it. There's no reason. If you think you can't, why would you put any energy or effort into it? But if you think you can and decide you can, you will go for it. You'll do what it takes to get there. You'll keep going. You'll keep innovating. You'll keep trying new things. You'll go on a path that you haven't paved before. So we can decide to think that we can. All right? Yes, I love that. I make up my bed and make up my mind every morning. And it really is. It's just about being intentional. And like I said on day one, the power of intention, of deciding on purpose who you want to be, how you want to be. It can be one of the best practices you start your day with. Okay, before I go on, I want to give y'all the word of the day since you are here with me and you can win one of the amazing prizes if you come to all the days of the challenge. The word of the day is, is. So make sure that is the secret word of the day. Make sure to put it, in your journal, write it down. And if you rewatch yesterday, you can grab yesterday's word as well. You want to get all 5 words, save them, and you'll be able to win one of the incredible prizes that we will be giving away at the end of the challenge. You're going to want one. Okay. So here's the thing is I want to talk for a second. Let me stop share. Okay. A second about how I like to reprogram my brain, right? So, and how I have, right? Whenever we start noticing limiting beliefs, what do we actually do? What's the process of changing it? And I want to share what's really worked for me, what I see working for my clients. There's 2 things that I absolutely love. One is coaching. When I started coaching around money and my relationship with money and had somebody else who was a neutral observer who wasn't in my brain, holding space and being able to see things that I couldn't see because I'd been thinking these thoughts for so long. I just felt they were facts. When I had somebody else kind of holding that space and being a mirror for me and helping me see a new perspective, it shifted things so quickly. It allowed me to shift my beliefs so quickly. Because when you are in your own brain, it is hard to see them. So having someone else holding space and helping you kind of pull those out makes all the difference. And not only pull them out and realize you have them, but also helping you see another perspective, another way. So I find coaching around money beyond powerful. And that is why in my program, the Money Manifestation Movement, I coach a lot in there. We have big group coaching calls. We have them 3 times a month. So almost every week besides the last week of the month off. And that is because, and I'm going to coach you guys today for those of you who want coaching. I want you all to see the power of it because not only getting coached, but also watching others get coached is so, so helpful. Now, the other thing that I love for reprogramming my mind, once I have someone help me kind of pull out what those limiting beliefs are, or once I can start to see and become aware of them, I love doing EFT tapping. Anyone here ever tried that? And I know for those of you who are in the movement and in my program, you've tried it because we have it inside of there. Yes. So it's a really great way to do kind of this like somatic release. You're touching and tapping on acupressure points. So it helps to reprogram in a deeper way. And I love doing that consistently as well. And I would say that work of doing the coaching piece setting the intentions, first of all, of what I want to transform, then getting coached around it, and then doing consistent kind of tapping around it. And even journaling can be helpful too. Practicing new thoughts is really helpful too. But the combination of that work shifted things really quickly for me. So I wanted to offer that. Yeah, you guys have tried tapping. Love it. Awesome. And there's, we have a whole huge tapping program within my course with my tapping teacher, who I absolutely love, Melanie Fay. She's incredible. And she has all of these tapping videos around money and the emotions of money. But if you haven't experienced it, we have it. You can just go to YouTube and try it. They have like some free tapping videos on there. So it's definitely worth giving it a shot. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope this episode is something that you'll be able to add to your manifestation toolbox to come back to when you need a little extra motivation. If you like what you've heard today and want to take it deeper, you've got to come check out my signature coaching program, the Money Manifestation Movement. It's the place where you'll not only learn manifestation, but you'll begin to live it alongside me and an amazing community of like-minded entrepreneurs doing this work together. Head on over to jamieberman.com to learn more.